my name is Dustin Dienst. I'm the fire chief for the city of Faribault. And I'm here today to talk to you about some holiday safety. It's just before Thanksgiving, and a lot of you are going to be cooking big meals, not only on Thanksgiving, but from here till Christmas and on Christmas. So there's some basic issues that we know of in the fire world that lead to more fires. Being Thanksgiving is the peak of the cooking fire season. We have more fires on that day, it goes without saying. There's a lot of meals and big meals being cooked that day. A couple of the biggest thing, or the biggest thing that is the reason for fires on that day is unattended cooking. So all year long, cooking fires are the #1 cause of structure fires, but not only cooking, it's unattended cooking. So cooking is not unsafe. People do it every day, and we don't have fires every day, thankfully, but it's when they get distracted and they're not attending to their fire. So we have a gas grill here at the fire station and a gas stove. So we know that with a gas stove, we have a flame. We have an open flame. And if I were to put that flame over here to my right, you would obviously see a problem. We have combustibles nearby. And this isn't uncommon to see in a kitchen. You see the mail that gets brought in and sat down, or the box that you just were dumping your noodles out of and putting into the pan right next to the stove. So this is not a good idea. We don't want to keep these here, even though they're far enough away. If they build up too far, they spill onto there, and now you have a fire hazard. So put them by the sink. Water and paper gets along better than fire than paper. The other thing we want to talk about is if you do have a fire. So I don't have anything in here, so that means I better shut this off so I don't cause a problem. But if you do have a fire in a stove, on top of your stove, the first thing you want to do is grab a lid, and you want to use it like a shield. So we have a pretty good flame in there. This is not the lid for that pan, but it doesn't matter. It's going to function the same way. But you want to use the lid as a shield and come in and put it down over the fire. That will, for the most part, knock the fire down, and then you need to shut off the heat source. So shut off the flame. If it's electric, just shut off the burner and just leave it. If you grab this pan, it's going to be hotter because of the fire, and then you could drop it, you could burn your hand, and if you drop it when it's on fire, now you have fire more than just in the pan. So you have it on the floor, you have it on maybe the paper that you didn't move, or if you have a countertop that is wood, we have wood cabinets that would normally be above here in most kitchens. So all that can become combustible and become a fire. So just leave it on there, shut it off, let it cool. You can get a hot pan or a hot pad, oven mitt, then grab it and take it out if you want to keep it from smoking up your house. So fire extinguishers are a very handy tool when it comes to home fires or fires anywhere, but not so much as a cooking fire. They're not recommended to be used for cooking fires. What I showed you of turning off the heat and covering the fire, that's how you put out a fire on a stove. Now if you were to have a fire in a garbage can, it would be a fire extinguisher is something that you could use to put that out. The reason we don't want to use a fire extinguisher on top of the stove is the pressure that's in the extinguisher that expels the powder that's in there also is going to push off the fire that's in the pan. So you're now going to have fire sprayed all over your kitchen because of that pressure. So knowing that, don't use an extinguisher on a fire on top of your stove. It's also not a good idea to keep your fire extinguisher in your kitchen. That's where we see it a lot because that's where most fires are, so it seems to make sense. Our recommendation is to have the extinguisher either in the garage that's attached or near the door on the way out. We would rather have you think about leaving the building, and then if you can, grab the extinguisher and go back in to maybe knock down the fire. The idea is that the fire is in front of you and your door is behind you and you're not trapped inside by the fire. If you have to come into the kitchen to get your extinguisher, you could potentially get trapped, not only by fire but by the smoke that you could be overcome by. Another issue that we see during the holiday seasons is overloading of outlets. So Christmas decorations tend to become very popular this time of the year, right after Thanksgiving. And of course, we don't have enough outlets in our house to be able to plug in everything that we want. So we see this a lot. We see the cheater plugged into the cheater. Oh, they got that upside down. And then a bunch of cords coming off of that. That can be a fire hazard. That outlet is not meant to be able to have that many things plugged into it. That's why there's 2 on there. So it's okay if you use a surge strip that has multiple plug-ins on it, but you don't want to plug one surge strip into another to gain those plugs. And we don't want to overload an outlet. And it's hard to say what overloading is because of the amp draw, depending on the lights that you use. But if it looks to you like a spider web and it looks like that could be dangerous, it probably is. The advent of LED lights are a wonderful thing. They don't draw the electricity, which means they don't produce the heat of the old incandescent lights. So I would recommend that you use LED lights, especially if you have a live tree, because a live tree is more of a fire hazard than artificial tree. Make sure if you do have a live tree that it stays watered, stays moist, and don't keep it for a long time. Get it out of your house as soon as possible after Christmas. So on our smoke alarms, all have batteries. Even if you have wired in smoke alarms, they always have a battery backup. So there's a base to a smoke alarm and the smoke alarm itself. This can be taken down. The battery is located inside there. You want to make sure that that's a fresh battery. So when you change your clocks in the spring and the fall, we recommend that you put in a new battery, whether it's a 9-volt or some of them take a AA. This little device deserves to have a fresh battery. If anything in your house needs a fresh battery, it's this and your CO alarm. But typically, you're going to find these on a ceiling or on a wall. They're up high because that's where the smoke goes. They need to be tested monthly. So testing is just, there's on every smoke alarm, there's some kind of a button, and you push this button and hold it, and it'll make sound. So we know that this smoke alarm will make sound to wake us up. But what we don't know is if the sensor is good. And that is why they recommend that after no more than 10 years, you get a new smoke alarm, because there's not a good way other than having smoke to test the sensor. And then of course, every time you put smoke to it, the sensor changes. So the idea is every 10 years, you just buy all new smoke alarms, even if you're pushing the button and the noise is going off. So we at the Faribault Fire Department hope that you all have a safe and festive holiday season. If you have any questions about anything that you have during the holiday season or in any time of the year, feel free to call the Faribault Fire Department at 334-8773.